Hey all you beautiful people, it's another episode of Medshield Movement Connect show with me, Dr. Fez, and I'm bringing you another phenomenal guest. Now, she is a medical doctor, business owner, yoga instructor, and she teaches other yogis to be yoga teachers. And you may have seen her on Survivor. It is Dr. Anesu Mbizvo. Really excited to break her brain and see how we can connect the dots. Get ready to know what you don't know about being body brilliant. This is the Medshield Movement Connect show, where we connect the dots between fitness, health, wellness, nutrition, and of course you. Hosted by me, Dr. Fez Mkhize, and a special guest that we have every month, sharing knowledge, insights, and groundbreaking tips on how to get fitter, be stronger, and live healthier. Turn up the volume and listen close. Today you amplify. It's the Medshield Movement Connect show. Let's go. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us, Dr. Mbizvo.
Absolutely, it's good to be here. Nice to chat about the things that I'm passionate about.
Yeah. So, can I call you Anesu or Dr. Mbizvo?
You can call me Anesu,
Okay,
that's fine.
I can call you Anesu. It is amazing because you have so many titles and you're somebody who can almost be seen as somebody who's holistic in terms of how they approach life. Where did that passion come from?
I think it comes from feeling like a little bit of an outcast or an outsider. You know, growing up, I was always a tomboy, wasn't really a fan of frilly dresses and skirts. And already then, you know, being a young girl and not really relating to a lot of the things that young girls are supposed to do, I think very early on that taught me that it's about me forging my own path. And I think that's something that I've really kept with me throughout my journey growing up.
And it's very interesting because, as you know, this is a show that tries to get people to understand how they may be able to reach a certain point. And you are somebody who's taken an unconventional path. You're somebody who says you might not have fit in, but why have you gone into so many spheres and how do you keep them balanced?
I think it's really about a journey of searching. You know, I went to medical school, so did you, obviously, hopefully. And, you know, having to manage the stress and the competitive nature of medical school and then being a doctor was something that I grappled with. And I found that just sticking with one, let's say, exercise regime or one form of movement wasn't really giving me the flexibility that I needed from my, let's say, extramural activities and the things that I did outside of work. So I stumbled on yoga because I was looking for a movement kind of outlet that wasn't competitive. I didn't want to compete with people. I wanted it to more be about me and my stress relief. And I think, it's that journey of searching for different activities that you can do either to bolster your physical well-being or your mental well-being that then shows you the fact that there's so much out there and it doesn't have to be an either-or situation. You can do whatever really makes your heart sing.
So now you're talking about what makes your heart sing, and I do know a bit about you, the fact that you love to help people, the fact that you are somebody who was within the mindfulness space because you like to do that, help people and benefit yourself. How do you go about doing that while still doing the yoga practice, the business, and just as a doctor, how is that all being juggled, and do you find yourself sometimes dropping the ball?
I think everybody drops the ball, but I think the main thing that I'm very grateful for, at least, is that my spiritual practice informs the way that I run my business. So, you know, my business partner and I have always said that we're going into the business that we're doing because we want to have impact. And that's because a big part of the yogic lifestyle is, yes, spending time on yourself, spending time to reflect on your healing and to reflect on the person that you're becoming. But aside from that, it's about taking that journey within and using it for the betterment of others. And I think that's where true fulfillment comes from, when you're doing something that you love, but that also impacts the world around you. And it's our practice, really, the fact that I constantly am meditating, constantly going onto my mat, putting myself into uncomfortable positions so that I can almost train myself for those similar situations off the mat in the business world or even at home life.
Yeah. And I mean, I've seen your social media, and if you guys haven't, you need to go there. It's at Dr. Anesu Mbizvo, right?
It's just my name,
Dr. Anesu Mbizvo?
That's it.
Yes.
You got it.
It's one that isn't as intimidating as some others that I've seen because, I mean, you'll be there and there's like a person doing like a side thing and there's a caption which resonates with you. Generally, the captions will speak about things like mindfulness and breathing, but I also find that the images, though, can be quite intimidating so you don't engage with them. Is that something that you try to do actively as somebody who's trying to be mindful and understand that everybody's different?
Yeah, 100%. I think the unfortunate thing about the yoga and actually the wellness space in general is that it seems to be for the select few.
Yeah.
And part of that is, yes, different degrees of access and the financial means that it takes to perform these practices. But I think another part of that is that people are used to seeing a certain type of body doing yoga nowadays. And the tradition of the practice, which is one of being inclusive, a practice that anybody can do anywhere at any time, has kind of been eroded by the commercialization of yoga, where now it's about, what type of tights you wear. Do you have the best brand of yoga mat? What do you look like? Filming yourself doing your practice on Instagram. And I think having made inclusivity a big part of the work that I do, I always make sure that when I am showing yoga, I'm doing the fundamental poses, the standing warrior poses when I take a picture. Or I don't really like to share my own practice because it kind of sends across a message that everybody's yoga practice should look the same. And if you're doing yoga, that your body should look a specific way, which isn't true. Yeah. So I think when it comes to representation, especially in wellness, thinking about the images that we use, the language that we use in these spaces, and looking at what can exclude people versus what can bring everybody into the conversation and make everybody feel at home.
Yeah. And I love that because that makes me braver to maybe post my Shavasana corpse pose and feel like maybe I'm...
You're dropping a couple of names
just wanted you guys to know that I did research this and I found a pose that's very good for me. So Shavasana, you guys should try it at home. But you're a calm person, like sitting down with you, speaking with you, and also knowing you just off camera. You're somebody who seems very calm, seems very much in control of everything. What are some of the tools that you use? Because it almost feels like that's a reflection of the internal, that you would maybe tell people at home, as business people, as people who are always on the go. What are the key things you use to try decrease those levels of anxiety?
I think before we even go into the tools, I think the main thing here is to also reframe the way that you see your well-being. Yeah. A lot of us tend to have destination syndrome when it comes to our health.
Six-pack, summer body.
I want the six-pack. I want to be able to do a handstand on my yoga mat. I want to look a certain way, or I want to feel a certain way. I want to have that work-life balance and have it all the time. And these things are elusive. There is no destination that you will get to a point where you feel happy with yourself if you've pinned your happiness on that endpoint. Yeah. And so I think it's about reframing the way that you see well-being and to remember that it's something that needs work in every moment. We are constantly shifting and trying to bring ourselves into balance. And so a lot of the tools that I use are little pauses or reminders in my day that just bring me back to the present. Sure. And we can talk about stress and how majority of the time when we're stressed, we're either ruminating over the past or focusing on the future. And so any time that you remember to come into the present moment, regardless of what you do really, automatically brings yourself a deeper sense of peace. And that can look like, for me, it's taking a couple of deep breaths whenever I remember, practicing some box breathing, which we can maybe do together a little bit later on. It's taking a moment to list the things that I'm grateful for at the end of my day, or while I'm washing the dishes, really smelling, the smell of the dishwashing soap, looking at the beautiful bubbles in my sink. And I think that, for me, that concept of self-care and well-being is a lot more accessible because it means that you don't need to go for weekend retreats or constantly be investing money into learning all of these new skills, but instead finding time in every day to come into the present moment using the things that already bring you joy.
As you guys can see, she's lobbying for dishwashing and maybe like sweeping, you can do it as well. So just help out in the house. That's all we're kind of saying. We can get some zen and some mindfulness in those kind of practices. But we generally have 20 minutes on the show, and because you're somebody who is so knowledgeable, I'm sure we're going to have more often. But before you go, I always like to do this on the spot. 3 names.
3 names?
3 names, and I'm going to tell you what the category is. Okay. you are an inspirational person. You're somebody who is within the wellness space, quite knowledgeable, not just about the physical, but the kind of spiritual as well. Who are 3 people that you would name right now that you find similar inspiration from, just like the people who kind of follow you and watch you? 3 names.
Can I throw a spanner in the works into your
this
whole
she always
show structure mechanism over here?
What's the spanner?
Okay, I'll give you the reason. I think, in spiritual spaces, I found from personal experience that it can be quite dangerous to attach yourself to the teacher or to the person as opposed to attaching yourself to the philosophy and their teachings. And it doesn't take much to Google yogi gurus who have been doing some problematic things or, just general leaders who have shown the fact that they are human and that they do make mistakes. So I'm going to just say I don't know if I could point out, maybe you could do the usual, let's talk Oprah, she pushes mental health and well-being, but at the same time, I haven't modeled my life around Oprah and the choices that she's made. Or Gwyneth Paltrow, you can talk about Goop and the fact that she's shown that experimental practices can be mainstream. But again, there's some things that I don't totally agree with when it comes to Gwyneth Paltrow. So at the risk of being cancelled for choosing a specific name that inspires me and then finding out later down the line that they have made some human errors, I think especially when it comes to your well-being, this is not about emulating somebody else's life or using their life as an example, but using the philosophies and the teachings around it instead. So well, I don't know.
There you have it, guys. Always beating her own path. Somebody who clearly is moving from internal out. Won't even let me have 3 names. I mean, everybody gives me 3
Someone
names.
has to put you in your place, Dr. Fairs,
3 names. But this is why she's somebody who I think is a great kind of leader when it comes to being yourself, thinking freely, and taking things that you find are going to resonate with you, working on those, and not necessarily just ingesting everything somebody says. Thank you so much for sitting down with us, Dr. Mbizvo.
Absolutely. It's such a pleasure. Are we still going to have time to do our breath work, or is this karma?
So they're giving me thumbs up because I didn't get my 3. I think this is why she didn't give me my 3, because she wanted to do the breathing. So everybody at home right now, if you're listening or if you're watching, she's going to take us through box breathing.
Yeah, we're going to do some box breathing.
Explain what it is as
just a couple of minutes. We won't take too much time.
Sure, okay, I'm ready.
So if you're watching, just come to a nice, comfortable seated position. And that's really important. If you are practicing these self-care practices, reframe your posture. Change how your body's feeling. Get up, walk around, come and sit back down. And then we're going to make sure that our spine is nice and straight, no slumping wherever you are. Resting the palm of our hands on our thighs or on our knees. And we're going to close the eyes. All right? I'm going to keep my eyes open just so I can make sure that he's doing the right thing. But what we're going to do is take a deep breath in through the nose. Breathe at your own pace, your own depth. And then open the mouth, sigh your breath out. Relax your shoulders. Maybe you even want to wriggle them. Roll the shoulders back a little bit. And now we'll start. Take an inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold your breath in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale all of the breath out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold the breath out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep it going. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold the breath in. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold the breath out. 4, 3, 2, 1. Final round. Take an inhale. You can count it out now. It's that 4 counts. Hold the breath in. Exhale the breath out. And then hold your breath out. Beautiful. And when you're ready, take a deep breath in for as long as you need. Long breath out of the mouth for as long as you need. And then you can gently flutter your eyes open, and there you have it. Really easy to remember. Just imagine that you're creating that box. It's a count of 4 sides to a square, all of those things. And that should be a nice, easy tip just to bring yourself into the present. Do it as many times as you remember during your day, and you will be amazed at how different you feel.
There you have it. Another tool that you can use to connect all the dots that will hopefully allow you to also kind of blaze your own trail, just as Dr. Mbizvo has done right now. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me.